So today we're gonna create another application. Okay. We're also gonna create, read, update, and delete data by using some HTTP method. So for creating another application, first open your terminal. After creating your folder, you open your terminal and you write npm init init just like this. All right. So after doing so, you can install some dependencies. I'm gonna say npm install Express, nodemon, mongoose, and let's say .env. So actually here you can see you have a package.json file created after typing npm init. Why? Here there's some information about your application, like the author, the license, description. You can add some descriptions, and you can do a lot of things actually. So here, as you can see, now I have dependencies, and I have all my dependencies here. All right, so I'm gonna do some quick change here. As you can see, my main file is called index.js. Of course, I can update it and change the name if I want, but it's not what I'm gonna be doing right now. Here, I'm just gonna say node index.js, and here I will say dev will be equal to nodemon index.js. So I will save this. So after saving this, I'm just gonna come on my terminal. Actually, before doing so, I have to create the file. I will say index.js. All right. So here I will import Express by saying const express equal to require express, and here I will say const app equal to express, just like this. And here I will say app listen. Okay, the port I will just say const port here. I will choose any port. You can choose any port actually, but me, I'm gonna choose 3000. You can put any number you want. My ports are gonna be 3000, and then I will console log a message on the terminal. So I will just say console log, and here I say app is running. Now app is listening on port. App is listening on port 3000. So here also I will import Mongoose. I will say const Mongoose. I will require Mongoose here. Require Mongoose, just like this. So I will connect to the DB because I have to do in order to create and delete and to use all the HTTP methods. So here I'm gonna say mongoose.connect. It's gonna help me to connect to my MongoDB server. So here I'm just gonna say then for now, and here catch. All right. So here if there's any error, I want to console log that error. I will say console log, and then I will console log the error. Here I will create a function. So if my app is running, if the server is connecting to my Node.js app, I want this on the console, or I can also console log something else by saying console log uh, server is running. So yep, I think till now is simple. Okay, just use Mongoose, all right, to connect to my MongoDB database, but I'm not connected yet. In order for me to be connected, I have to go to my MongoDB Atlas. I just want to show you guys how you can connect your MongoDB to your Node.js application. So let's do it right now. So in MongoDB, the first things I will do, I will just click on connect here. Uh, so let me just go back. So in order for you to access this page, you have first to register and then to MongoDB Atlas. I'm just gonna leave the link in the description so you can register and then after registering, you can come here on cluster. You can click on connect. All right. So here, the first one saying access your Atlas data using MongoDB native driver, Node.js. All right. So I'm just going to copy this URL for now. Then I will paste it on my VS Code. So I'm back in VS Code. So I'll just paste it here. All right, but it's not gonna work yet since there's not a password. I didn't put the password yet. So in order for me to get the password, I have to go back to my MongoDB Atlas because I actually forgot the password, but it's not a big issue. I will show you how to get the password if you ever forget it. So let's just go back here. So back to my MongoDB. I'm just gonna come here in data access. I'm just gonna click on it. So here I'm just gonna click on edit. After clicking on edit, here you can say it's written edit password. I'm just gonna click on it. And I'm gonna click on auto generate secure password. MongoDB gonna auto generate a secure password for me, and I'm just gonna copy that password. And here I'm just gonna update the user. After doing so, I'm just gonna go back to VS Code right now. So back to my VS Code, I'm just gonna delete this DB password. I'm just gonna paste the password I got from MongoDB because MongoDB auto generate for me a password. So right now, what I will do again, I will create an env file to make the code much more cleaner. I'm just gonna say .env. All right, so I'm gonna say ports. So the name doesn't really matter here. I'm just gonna say ports. Name of the variable doesn't matter, and I'm just gonna copy this URL here. I'll just copy this. I'll just delete it from here, remove it from here, and here I'm just gonna call it Mongo URL, just like this, and I will paste this. So I will save this file. I can come back here in my VS Code. So what I will do, I'll remove this because I'm not going to need it anymore. I'm just going to say here process dot env dot mongo url, and here I'm just going to say process dot env dot port. Here also I'm going to say process dot env dot port. So basically the same name here. After the process, then after this process.env, you put the same name of the variable here in the env file. So of course I have to use it. So I'm just gonna come here. I'm gonna say require dot env. Then I will config like this. So I will save this and I will say npm run dev, and I will save it once again. So as you can see, the server is running and app is listening on port 3000. So the first things I will do here, the second things I will do, I'll create a schema folder. I'll call it schema. Then I'll create a file called schema.js. So in this file, I will say const mongoose. I will use mongoose again. I will require mongoose. So here I will say const. Let's say user schema. I'm just gonna call it like this. You can call it anything you want, and I will say await. Sorry, await. No, actually not await here. I'm not using an asynchronous function. Sorry. So here is gonna be schema like this. So I'm gonna pass name. Here, let's just call it username here, and the type of my username. I want the type of username in my Node application to be string. I'm just gonna say string like this. String. All right. So I want also that to be required too. So all the time the user have to use the pass to put the username. So I'm just gonna copy this one and paste it once more time. And here I will say actually string, my bad. And here I will say password like this. And here I'll come and I will say const uh, user model user model user model. All right, like this. You can use any name you want, but me, I'm just gonna say user model, and I'm gonna say mongoose dot model, right? And here let's just call it mongo use user app. You can put any name you want. Me, I just choose to user. Let's just say mongo user, just like this. And here I will pass the user schema, right? And here I will say model dot export, right? And here is going to be user model. I'm going to export the user model. So let me put it capital like this, just I want to. So I will save this. All right. So I will come back to my index.js. The first things I will do, I will say up.use. Then I'm gonna use the middleware express.json. Is really important because I want to send my data in a JSON format. So I'm gonna be using the Express middleware. If you guys are new with this, just let me know. I'm gonna try to make an entire video about it to explain to you more deeper. So after doing this, I'm just gonna import. I'm gonna say user model, and I will require the user model from schema here, schema. So after doing this, right? So things I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create a route. I'm gonna say up post. I'm gonna use the HTTP method post. Then I will create. So here, of course, it has to be an asynchronous function because I'm gonna be dealing with request and response. And whenever, my bad. And whenever you're using MongoDB, you have to have an asynchronous function because you have to wait for the response coming from the server. So here I'm gonna use try catch. Okay. So the rule is pretty easy here. So first of all, I'm gonna say const username, username, and password uh, to be equal to rec.body, just like this. And then here I'm just gonna say const check username like this, and I will check if the username exists or not. So I'm just gonna say check username like this. Actually, it can be. So anyhow, so I'm gonna say await. So here I'm gonna use user model from my schema, right? As you can remember, my schema. All right. So here I'm just gonna say I'm gonna use the method, the MongoDB method, find one, and I'm gonna pass the username. After passing the username, I'm gonna use if statement here. So in my if statement, I'm gonna say const. Sorry, I'm gonna use the check username, right? So if the username exists, I'm gonna send a status 400 and a JSON message saying user name already in use, just like this. And if the username doesn't exist, I want if the username doesn't exist to my in my DB, I want to create that username. So before doing so, I'm just gonna come here and say const save user, and then I'm gonna await, and I'm gonna use again the use model, user user model from MongoDB, from my schema actually. So I'm gonna say create. So basically, as I told you, all my data have to follow some rule, right? My data have to be type string, and it has to be there. It has to be required. I say required true. So here I'm gonna pass the request body. All right. So actually, it's a really good things working with MongoDB. It helps you to avoid a lot of errors. Most of the time, some you can avoid errors like sending the wrong type of data to the DB. But with MongoDB, you can play it safe. So here, I'm gonna send the message here, and I'm just gonna say message. Sorry, message like this, and I will say user created successfully, like this, and then I will uh, display that user by saying save user, just like that. So after this, here I'm just gonna say response. That status will be 500, and the JSON will be a message. Here I want to say internal server error. So whenever the error comes from my server, the status will be the status will be 500. Of course, I want to console log that error here. I'll just say console log error, just like this. So I'm gonna save this. So the first things you will do here, you open your VS Code and you go on extension, and you write and look for Thunder client. Is a is an extension in your VS Code. You can just click on it and download this. I already did so, so I'm not gonna do it again. So after this, you can just click on Thunder client. After downloading Thunder client, just click on it, and then here, oh, so but this was before. I didn't create that route yet. but I will do it in a bit. So here is gonna be create, just like this, and the method here is not gonna be delete, it's gonna be post. So here, all these things was before. Don't worry about this. Let's focus on what we're gonna do now, right? So let's change the username here. Let's just say, for example, Paul, and here let's say Paul123. Paul123. So basically, when you put the post method, you can click. You're gonna click on body, and when you click on body, you put username and password. Remember, like in our schema, we implement a data model username and password, right? So it's basically what I'm doing. Don't focus about this. This was before. I did before, like making this video. So let's do it together right now. So as you can see right now, Paul is created in our DB, right? So let's create another user. Let's say, for example, Dave. Let's say Dave123, Dave123, and let's send. Dev's created in our DB. Let's say, for example, um, Frank, and let's say Frank123. Sorry, Frank is created in our DB. So, all right, as you can see, everything is working perfectly. We create our user, right? So you can see we have ID, username, and everything. So let's go back to index.js. Now we will try to get all our user. So we're gonna say app.get. We're gonna use the HTTP get method, and here we're gonna be pretty easier. We're just gonna have an asynchronous function here. So after having an asynchronous function, we're gonna have a request and response, right? So here I'm gonna say const, um, let's say all user. Actually, let's just say try catch first. Try catch, and here I'm gonna say all const all user like this, and I will await for user model, and I will use the find method with the MongoDB's method. And if I get all my user, I will respond with the status. Uh, the status will be 200, and the JSON here, I will send the user. So I'm just gonna say users like this, and I will say user, sorry, all user, right, like this. And here the status will be 500, and of course the message will be the same. Actually, you can just copy. So you have to know about status. It's really important. It's gonna save you a bunch of time. Mostly when you get an error, you know if this error came from the server or the client. So here, actually, when you create a user, it should be 201, not 200. So I will just save this really quick. Then back to my Thunder client here, I will just say first, I will delete this because I'm not sending any data. And I know some people all the time get confused. So that's why I delete this. So I'm using a get HTTP method right now. And when I click on send, as you can see, I have all my user here, right? So that's good. So there, Frank, and everywhere. So don't worry about those two users. It was before like making the videos. So I just want you guys to be focused on what we're trying to do now right now. So after doing so, uh, I will try to update those user. So here I will just say the root name is gonna be update, and here will be, let's say, ID, like this. So here's gonna be an asynchronous function. It's gonna be request response, and here what I want what I want to do here is to create a user, to update the user. So I'm gonna say try catch first, and here I will come and I will say const. It's gonna be ID. It's gonna be request dot params here. So basically, this ID here is called a router parameter. Basically, what's going on here? We want to pass some data in our URL, right? And then get that data and look for it in our DB. So basically, with Express, it's really easier. We're gonna create a router parameter. Whenever you are putting a colon here, Express know everything coming after here is the data that you're gonna need later on. So we can get this data by using request.params, just like this. And here we're gonna say const update. Let's just say update users. All right. We're gonna be await, just like this. Await. Um, you're gonna say you're gonna say user model, right? And you're gonna find by ID and updates. So here I'm gonna pass the ID. I'm gonna pass the request.body, and I'm gonna say new will be true, like this. So after doing so, I'm gonna respond with the status, right? Here will be 200 if it's a success. If whenever it's a success, the status is 200. And here I'm gonna update the user. I'm gonna respond by showing the update user by saying update user update. Sorry, update users. So you can put any name here, right? In my object. So here you can change the name. So me, I'm just gonna leave it like this because it makes more sense for me. Right. So I'm just, of course, it's always gonna be the same. If the status is 500, that means it's a server error. So if the status is 400, that means a client error. So I think I'm gonna make in a future video about errors. So because like I think that's really important. Is a really important topic. So I'm just gonna save this. I'm just gonna save this. Then I will go back to my Thunder client. So let's go back to Thunder client. Here, what I will do, I will just choose, for example, this ID. Okay. So here I'll just my root name was update, and I will paste that ID here. I will change the method to put, and then I will pass the new data that I want to send to my DB. So here I want, for example, his name to become like, let's say, Ina, and the password to be password will be, let's say,
inner 1 2 3 So let me send this. All right, so I think there's an error somewhere. Request param is not a function. All right, so my bad. Here I shouldn't do it like this. It should just be request param, not parenthesis. So let's do it one more time. So as you can see, the user is updating. So as you understood, whenever you create a user with MongoDB, MongoDB attribute to that user an ID automatically. So no need for you to attribute an ID because MongoDB does it automatically. So you can use that ID and update the user or delete the user, do whatever you want to do, right? So that actually really good with MongoDB. It makes things much more easier, and you can update the user as much as you want. For example, here let's just say Tony, and let's say Tony123, for example, as password. So in my next video, I think I'm gonna be using Bscript because I didn't want to do it right now because I was like maybe most of you gonna get confused, but actually, normally we don't leave the password like this. We have to crypt it using Bcrypt. I'm gonna make a video about it in the future, so to show you how to use it because like leaving a password like this in your DB is not good and it's not safe, and mostly for hackers purpose and everything. So we're gonna be using Bcrypts in our next video. So let's go back to index.js. Now we want to delete that user. I'm just gonna say app.delete, just like this. And here I'm just gonna create a new root. I'm gonna say delete. Okay, so here I'm gonna say ID and asynchronous function. Always when you're dealing with the database. Okay, here is gonna be request. Here is gonna be response. All right. So here we're gonna say try catch. Here I'm just gonna say the same. I'm gonna get the root parameter const ID. How to get it? You're gonna get it by using request params like this. Request params, and then I'm gonna say const delete user, delete user will be equal to await dot user model. We're gonna use user model dot. We're gonna use this MongoDB method called by find by ID and delete all this MongoDB method. You should know about it. It's really easy to catch, by the way. So here I'm just gonna pass the ID. I'm just gonna pass the ID, and actually there's some things I should do here. I'm gonna use the if statement. So if I can't find that user, if I can find the ID, I'm just gonna come back here and have a status 400 and a JSON saying a message saying user not found, right? So if I found the user, if I found the user, I'm just gonna send a status saying 200. If the status is a success, is always 200. is the response is the success is always 200. So here the message will be the message will be uh, user deleted successfully. Of course, here it'll be the same. If there's any error coming from the server, the status will be 500, and I'll put it here. So actually, here in my update, I forgot to do something. It's not going to change anything, but you always have to anticipate any kind of error. For example, if the ID is not in the DB, you will say if the ID is not in the DB, you're gonna say update user, and the status will be 400. Basically the same that I did with delete 400, and you can pass any message here. You always have to anticipate, and the message will be, for example, let's say user not found, just like this. Good, right? So I'm gonna save it once again. So basically, what I did here, I use the MongoDB method find by ID and delete. All right. I got my root parameter using request.params, and then basically I'm saying if the user doesn't exist, if the ID doesn't exist in my DB, right? I have to send a message saying user not found, right? If the user exists, if actually the I delete the user, I'm gonna send a message saying like the user uh, was deleted. Actually, I say the user was deleted successfully, just like that. All right. So here, so here, here, so like the same. So okay. Anyhow, let me just save this. So yep, I'll go back to my Thunder. So here I will say delete, delete, and then we pass this user, for example. No, actually no. I will use this one, the one that just create right now. I just update. Sorry. So I like deleting this because people get confused when they say this. Of course, I will change the method. It will be a delete method right now. So when I click on this, internal server error. So there's an error somewhere. So let me check it. Uh, so I'm gonna go back to my index.js. So what's going on here? Let me say find. Okay, delete id request response find by id and delete. All right, let me just remove this first for now, and then let me save this, and let me see what will be the output this time. Yep, so the user was deleted successfully. So yep, now I can get all my user. For example, I've just deleted this and get any user here. For example, let's say Kev, right? So I'm just gonna copy this, and let's say the root name is delete, and I'm gonna pass the root parameter here, this one. And when I click on it, oh sorry, the method have to change, has to be delete method. So when I click on it, the user was deleted successfully. I can create, oh my bad, just can come here and say create, and of course If I want to create the method has to be post method, and I want to click on body, and here I'm gonna create a new user, say username, and here, for example, the username will be, let's say, you, and the password will be the password will be you123. And let me send this. All right, guys, that's it for today. Everything is working perfectly. So the let me do a quick recap. So in this video, what we learned so far, we learned how to. The first thing we learn is we learn how to use Express. We also learn how to connect our MongoDB to our Node.js app, and we also learn how to use Thunder client by downloading download client from our extension in VS Code. Then we learn the importance of the middleware Express.js. There's also some other middleware, by the way, but we're not gonna talk about it in this video. We also learn how to create routes, how to use the HTTP methods, post, get, put, and delete. So that's it for this video. I hope you really enjoy coding along with me. Um, let don't forget to subscribe and to share the video, and also to write in the comment section any question if you have. I'll do my best to respond to all the questions. And also, like, if you need any helps or whatever, just don't forget don't mind to reach out to me, and I will try to help you as much as I can. Also, don't forget to share this video, guys. So yep, support the channel and everything. So that's it. I hope you really enjoy this video, and I will try to make more content about Node.js, by the way. So that's it. Bye, and take care.